Today I am going to be teaching you how to make a color emotion motion monster using Procreate. The first thing we need to do is open a new canvas. Click the plus sign in the top right corner, then select the square option, which is 2048 by 2048 pixels. Next, we are going to create a border around the edge of the square to make sure that our monster's arms and legs don't get cut off when they are moving. Click the brush icon, then inking, then marker, and put it at its full size. I think you should use black to make sure that it doesn't get mixed up with the color of your monster. Trace along the edge of the canvas, making a square. It doesn't have to be perfect, we will be deleting it later. Next, we are going to add a new layer. Do this by clicking the layer icon, then the plus sign. Next, let's set up our brush. We already have chosen our color, but let's make sure that we choose a darker shade of that color to make sure that the details stay visible. I suggest that we use the Studio pen, which is under inking, and around size 9%. Let's keep it at 100% opacity. Now we are going to draw our first outline of our monster. Start by drawing its body shape. We can use any shape we like. I just suggest that we don't get too crazy with the details because we do have to trace this multiple times. Add arms, legs, eyes, mouth, nose, hair, feet, hands, as many or as few as you would like. Just keep in mind that we want to make a lot of these elements move. Now we are going to start creating new frames for our animation. First, we need to turn down the opacity of our first outline layer. To do this, click the adjustments icon, then opacity. Then you can see a blue small bar at the top of the screen. Using your finger, slide this bar down to the left to about 25%. Now we are going to create our second frame of animation. First, we need to create a new layer by clicking the plus sign in the top right corner. Make sure that this new layer is on top of the other two layers. With our new layer selected, now carefully trace over the parts of your monster that you do not want to move in the second frame. After you have done this, carefully draw the elements of your monster in the new direction you would like them to move. Be careful not to make your new drawings too different from the first tracing because we want to make our animation move gradually frame by frame. Next, we need to turn down the opacity of the layer we just drew by clicking the Layers panel, then going again to the Adjustments, Opacity, and turning that down to 25%. Then go back into the Layers panel and uncheck Layer 2, which is our first outline, so it is invisible. With our most recent layer being shown at 25% opacity, then click the plus sign to add a new layer on top of that. Now trace your monster again, starting with the pieces you do not want to move, and make the pieces you do want to move a little bit more. It's up to you how many frames of animation you would like to have. More frames will create a more fluid and smooth design, but anything from 3 to 7 would be great. So to create more frames, we simply need to repeat the steps we just did. We always want to make sure the only layers that are checked or made visible are the top two layers. This should be the layer you are tracing and the layer you are tracing over, which should be at a low opacity. Once you have created the desired amount of frames, or gradually changing layers, we can set up our layers to test our GIF. First, we need to delete our border by going into our Layers panel, clicking the border layer, and swiping it to the left. Then click the red delete button. Now we need to turn back the opacity to 100% for all of our layers. We can do this by the way we learned earlier, or by in the Layers panel, clicking the N next to the layer name. This opens up the opacity slider bar that we then will move to 100%. Do this for all of the layers. Now we can test our animated GIF. To do this, click the Actions icon, then the Share button, then select Animated GIF. This will open up a preview version of what our GIF will look like, but we're not done quite yet. If you noticed any details you missed or anything that looks a little bit off, you can go back in and fix those layers. You can turn the frames per second down low to maybe 1 frame per second so you can see exactly which layer it is you need to fix. Now let's set up our file to create color layers. We could fill in color by coloring on top of our outline layers, but this makes us lose a lot of detail and makes it look a little bit messy. What I suggest we do is create a new layer that goes underneath each outline layer. Use the plus sign to create a new layer that goes under each outline layer. Now open the color panel to choose a new shade of your selected color. Since we chose a dark outline color, I suggest you choose a lighter or brighter version of your color. There are many fun brush options we can use to add texture and details to our monsters. Test them out before selecting the one you would like. To keep each layer consistent, here's what I suggest. Start by filling in the body, coloring in each layer one by one. Then, if you are using a different brush or color, you can go back in and do the details layer by layer. When we are changing brushes or colors, it's hard to remember what we did for each layer. So I like to color my layers piece by piece rather than layer by layer. For example, I'll color all of the bodies one by one with one color and brush, then go back to those under layers and color in details with another color or brush. When you're coloring in, make sure the only layers that are checked or made visible are the outline layer and the layer underneath that you are coloring on. Make sure the under layer, the layer you are coloring on, is selected when you're coloring and not the outline. To essentially smush the outline layer and the color layers together, we can pinch with our fingers the top and bottom layers together. Start with the bottom 2 layers and go up, pinching pairs together. Once you have completed this step, you can change the background color by selecting the background layer, then adjusting the color. You can choose a tint or shade of your selected color, or if you would like the complementary color, you may do so. Make sure the background color is not too similar to the outline or colors you use to fill in your monster though. Now we're ready to export. Click the Actions tab, then Share, then click Animated GIF. You can adjust the frames per second to your liking. Depending on the mood or action of your monster, you may like it to go slower or faster. I will leave that up to you. Then select Full Resolution and save the image to go into your photos. Yay! You made your first animation! I hope you had fun and can use this for making other new animations. Thank you for watching and working so hard!